Very good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really very privileged to be here. I profoundly thank the Director General of Police, Mr. Manoj Yadav, whom I had known for very long. We had an association in the Intelligence Bureau, and I found him always a very, very promising officer with great leadership qualities. I'm very happy to see today that he is leading the Haryana Police and leading it with distinction. I'm also very grateful to have here Mr. Kamadi for all his contribution, for all that he has done in the BPR&D that has been assiduously working for the betterment of the standards of the policing in the country, the great work being done, and I was really deeply impressed by his very visionary and a very forward-looking talk. But I must particularly thank Mrs. Reddy ji, who I must say the interest that our private sector is today taking in the national security, is the interest that it is taking in nation building, the interest that is taking our business community in the security, safety, and the preservation of the values and this thing of the society. I must congratulate the new coming change in our this thing, and I must give a very great credit for that to the new leadership of FICCI, which probably is much more alive and much more this thing than the conventional business mode in which the business people and the industries work. There are very distinguished guests here, and I find there are people much more competent to talk on the subject of the technology, its induction and its limitation and its horizon and the potential that we can all achieve. I find Mr. Alok Joshi, who I think most distinguished colleague of mine. We work together in many capacities together. Today also he is is a member of the National Security Advisory Board, but he had headed very distinct. He was not only the head of our external intelligence agency, but he also distinguishedly led the country's apex technical research organization in the matter of national security, that is the NTRO, and he brought about a great change in that. I'm very happy that he's here, and I do hope that you will benefit by his great experience and insight on the matters of technology and what are its potential. We've got some very other distinguished people, dignitaries here whom I can see, and they're members of the business, members of the academia, and my friends from the media. I'm very grateful to you to be here and to share the experiences with the young officers. But this day is especially very unique to me for the presence of the young officers who are here. You are the officers who will be seeing this country when it completes 100 years of its independence, of its freedom. Between two of us, we cover nearly 100 years of seeing the police, getting associated with it, and while I am the only one in this hall who was born before independence, and you are the one who lived to see an independent India for 100 years. So probably, if somebody asks me that with my association for 52 years with this country's security set up in various ways, in the police and intelligence and outside intelligence, and then as a national security advisor and all these things, what is one thing that has struck you most? Then I'll say that I have seen changes. But I have seen changes that with every succeeding year, the rate of change was very high. It kept on increasing. And if this continues, the type of challenges and the problems that you are going to confront are going to be manifold higher than what I did. When it was in 68, when I joined the service, there were a certain set of problems, but in 69 it became worse. We got the left wing and other things and this, and then we got the insurgency, you know, and it kept on multiplying. Terrorism wasn't there. Then came the terrorism, and with all succeeding decades and others, the new type of problems started cropping up, and the old ones started getting more confounded and more complex. And by this rate, when you would be ushering into a great new India of 2050, probably the problems would have confounded most. So that is one observation that I can see for certain. But I also am happy to see that the people who are going to solve those problems, lead the teams that will confront those problems is very, very competent. I've got a lot of faith and confidence in your abilities, in your commitment, in your patriotism, in your sense of professionalism, and the way that you've been able to lead it. So I have got while the problems will mount very much, probably the solutions will always be much more powerful, and you will be able to provide leadership for that. But whatever may change, everything changes. Everything that has changed in the past will change in the future. That is one cardinal principle of life. If from a child you have become young and you have changed, then this youth also is temporary. This also will change. Everything will change. So this will change, but there are certain things which I found, they do not change. And that is, there is a certain process in problem solving. There are two types of approach. Whenever we face a problem, a situation, a difficult situation that probably you will be facing, and you are facing actually every day in your respective districts, it consists of two elements. Some are constants and few are variables. Everything that comes into this thing is your constants and your variables. You play with your variables because you cannot do much about the constants. You take them for granted. You have to take them for granted. If you are sitting in this room and three people with the AK-47 come and start this thing, we cannot find new doors. They are all constants. But we have got variables. We will find within the available opportunities what are the options that we are able to exercise. Now, what is leadership? And what is that I expect from you? Will you be able to change your constants into variables? Better the leader you are, more professionally competent you are, for you, the constants start becoming less and less. Technology is a great enabler, which reduces your constants, converts your constants into variables. I've got an eyesight, I can see for 100 yards if I have to see my target. Telescope is an enabler, it's a technology enhancer. So it turns my constant of sight into a variable that probably I can see 500 meters. When you induct technology, actually you are adding to your enablements. And the technology is not the only thing. Probably there are other things. There are other things also which enhance your capability to convert your constants. Constants are majburis. And we work on various constants. Thank you. Now, do you know why your role is very, very important in this transformation that this country is going to have? What are the great things that we are really proud of, this country, our great civilization, our great historical achievements, a society that's on upsurge, an entrepreneur class which has got a global thought and global thinking and is internationally competitive. But it's also because we're a great democracy. And the quintessence of democracy does not lie in the ballot box. Ballot box elects whom? It elects the people for the legislature, not for the executive. They take executive function, But essentially it is a legislative assembly or it is a parliament, or this thing, it is for the legislative bodies. And what is a legislative body? It makes laws. So law making is the most sacrosanct job in a democracy, which is done not by a imperial this thing, or by a from the pulpit of a this thing from a religious leader, but it is done by the representatives of the people. And you are the enforcers of that law. So you are the lawstock where if you fail, democracy fails. If you are not able to enforce the law, you are the law enforcing agencies. If you cannot enforce the law, then making of that law is immaterial. A law is as good as it is executed on the ground. And if you do not have the capabilities, competencies and enablements by which you would be able to provide the country the laws which the lawmakers have given to you, that here is a law and you should see that whatever the laws it might be, whether it is against murders or dacoities or terrorism or rape or anything, and you fail because your constants are so many and your variables are few, and you have not done sufficient to build up those professional competencies by which you will be able to face those challenges. Now, when I say that technology is a great enabler, probably I am not telling any great or revealing any great truth. We all know it. But it is not only sufficient that there is a technology, and it is also necessary for you as practitioners to know that is why is it that in a country which has got the technology to hit at a satellite with an anti-satellite missile, or has got plans to go to the moon, or has got such this thing and can design working in the realms of the denied technology, where the sanctions were this thing on us in the field of atomic energy, in the field of space, in the field of oceanography, the most rare technologies and others we have been able to do this thing, that still the same country does not have the adequate technology for policing in a village level or at a Kasbah level and at this thing. Where is that mismatch? Where is that gap? Why does it happen? I can understand that we are not aware of those technologies. We are also this thing that our leadership is not this thing. Our leadership is one of the best. I know how many of your 150 young officers who are sitting here, how many of you are graduates from the IITs and other engineering colleges and others, a large number of them. Every batch I get to know the list and I find that a good number of them are this thing. The standards of education have gone high. So if the technology is available, if the money and the resources are available, if the manpower is available, we are probably 25 lakh plus of the police force, both central and state combined together. तो ये होता क्यों नहीं है? ये टेक्नोलॉजी आती क्यों नहीं? One of the reasons I will tell you what this is, and I want you to safeguard on that. Technology induction takes two routes. One is this, that you are not aware of anything. Somebody comes and tells you that there is a technology by which there is a face identification kit, by you will be able to find a person whose this thing you are able to put, and then the scanning cameras will be able to focus on the man who comes there, and they will be able to say that this is the man. You take that technology. Then you try to train, you try to procure, then you try to supply, and you have this thing like that. It comes this way. It is a conventional way. And you have done well on that. Large number of things have changed. From the time that when I was an ASP or I was an SP of course, I was an SP for a very few months. I had been more in the intelligence. But anyway, so this process is slow. This problem brings about reform, but not the transformation. And there is a change, there is a difference between reform and transformation. Reformation is something when you learn from yesterday's experience and see to it that tomorrow that mistake is not committed. You have reformed that. Transformation is thinking about tomorrow and planning for that. Forget, history is history. Whatever was a mistake in the past has been done. We will change for tomorrow. We have got no this thing about the yesterday. Yesterday, to the extent that we can learn some good or bad lessons, that's all. Otherwise, we plan for tomorrow. We are preparing for tomorrow's war, not the battle of Plassey that we might have lost. So we don't have to find the new bazookas and with the new ignition systems and have to fill this thing with the gunpowder and all that. Probably we have to think about how we'll have the space domination. There is another way which I think would be a way I would like you to do. That is, your approach to technology induction is from the consumer requirement to identifying and exploring where are the technologies to find that. If you are in your day-to-day working in a police station, if you are beat constable or the people who are having counter-terrorist, who are fighting terrorism or who are in left-wing extremism areas, they face certain problems. They face certain situations. Then they try to find out, are there technological solutions? And they may not be something which is the great technologies. Even some applications, innovations, probably may make it easier. There, if the technology induction comes through this route, actually it starts growing from down to up. Now, for example, I often give this example and others, that you tell, the first category is the catalog category, which I call the cataloging. Somebody shows you the catalogs, presentations, you see them, you're deeply impressed, you find, yes, it's very good, and well, probably I can use it in 10 ways. It does, but it always remains at a creamy layer. Its percolation is very time consuming, goes very slow down. So you'll find that if I go to some elite group of the IPS officers and others, they give me something and they talk me about technology. 30 kilometers away, I go to a police station of that district and others, and I find उनके पास तो लिखने के पास पेन भी नहीं है. उनको ये भी नहीं पता कि कैसे होता. They are still at the subliminal level, which probably they were whatever years back, 8 years back or 9 years back. They are still there. They are not moving up. But if you can find the solutions to their problems, not from catalog to the ground, but from ground to the catalog. Identify in your day-to-day working where you can use your technologies. All of you are very much computer savvy. How much we can make our police stations and people below that, this thing on the computer. How much of it, this thing that we can give them that a beat constable has got the technology gadgets available with him by which he can find out if there is a vehicle that he stops, that he can find out whether it is known that it's a stolen vehicle or it is a vehicle which has got a fake registration card and others. After all, what is he checking? If you say that these are the 5 things that we are putting a Naka party and we are going to check, then he must know how can he check. You think that anybody would be able to remember the numbers of all the stolen vehicles or number of all the vehicles which have been which have gone out of road for last 10 years or which are no more in operation? Technology can make it possible. So let us try to identify the problems. After you identify the problems, then you approach the academic bodies, you approach the industry, you approach the scientific organizations in the country, like NTRO is one, DRDO is another, we have got so many other scientific labs and others, to provide solutions. They will not provide you 100% solution. That they will provide you 20% solution, 30% solution, 40% solution to those things. In case you are facing that your vehicles are going in often, there are booby traps or there are mines which are laid under that and they're broken. Is there something by which you find that every vehicle can have some sort of a sensors by which 10 meters before it goes, it can find in case there is a laid down mine over there? Now, I am not telling that this technology is there or it is not there, or it can be made, it cannot be made. But did you identify it as your need? Then after identifying this need, then did you tell the DRDO or the concerned organization it is possible? If they say that yes, we can find a solution, good enough. If they say it is not possible, good enough, then you know that, well, you have to find some means other than technology support to do this thing about it. And there are various other things that we can think of. Now, maybe that my example is not very right, but it is just an illustration, because today we know we have got the road opening. Even, for example, the road opening parties, from Jammu till it comes to this thing, whenever we have got to these convoys to have to go another, the road opening parties are taking roughly about 40 companies, starting from 4 o'clock in the morning up to 2 o'clock in the night. That is, not only that they have to clear the entire road, but they have to physically stand along the road for 180 kilometers. Because the army convoy has to pass through that in the arms, ammunition, supplies and whatever are to go from there. So they have to physically, they have to do it twice a week. Now, can there be something that we can preserve this amount of force of the road opening parties by some superior technologies? Maybe that after the road opening and this thing has been done, is it that the helicopters can, or the drones can, this thing over that, and they can see if there is any movement on the road or anybody is digging or putting a mine? So, the point I am trying to make is, identify, you can never find a problem, you can never find a solution to a problem that you cannot define. You have to first identify the problem, define the problem, then find the solution. It is just like telling, I said I have lost something in this room, can you find it? You can never find it. But if I tell you I have lost my pen, probably you may be able to find it. You have to first know, when you are searching, what exactly you are trying to find out. If you do not know what you are trying to find out, hard work is the worst thing that you can do. It only complicates the problem for you, increases the tensions for you and people working under you. You are never able to give the leadership. You have to find you have to first identify the problem, define the problem, see what are the possible solutions to this, see whether technology has got something to contribute, explore. Out of 10, maybe even if in 4, even in 3, you are able to find some technology support, it is worthwhile. And as increasingly we are getting this thing, and we are finding that the technology can come to the support of policing in various ways. Right from whether it's a question of crimes or terrorism or crowd controls or looking after the national assets, protecting the vital installations, your ports, your airports, your coastal areas and others, or your border security and others, everything we find that the technology is able to come in this thing in predicting the offense. Now, for example, say very interestingly, now if the data is fed, and now today that there is so much of a plethora of data which is available, and the police stations are the repository of the huge this thing, and so are the intelligence agencies. If we could devise and think of something, can we use artificial intelligence, the tools of artificial intelligence, for predicting the behavior of this thing in the Kumbh Mela, what is likely to happen? If we know that so many of the known depredators or the desperate criminals are going to come and are in this area, how will they behave? Or in case there is a communal riot, what sort of this thing it will take? Now, this use of huge data, using it as a great resource for preparation of plans, for execution of plans, and then after each one, you are better prepared for the next one because your database has further increased. So what you can predict on the basis of that will be much higher. Similarly, for preventing, for countering these things in the real combat situations and others, and consequence management, or it is this thing. Even in this thing about perception management. Now, one of the problems of police, and in a democracy it is extremely important that you should not only be totally dedicated to the law, you should all be doing the things fairly and objectively. It is also important that you're seen like that. You are credible. You are known and your institutional this thing is there, but then people will take one stray aberration somewhere of some policeman having done something or this thing, and that will be the headline. And people think that probably he is the standard prototype of the policeman multiplied by 25 lakhs, and that is what the Indian police is all about. It is not so. So it is also our responsibility, that is, we are able to create this right perception, because it is the perception that provides confidence to the people, that enhances the trust level of the people, that makes their life psychologically more secure if they feel that they have got a police which is alert, which is efficient, which is honest, which is objective, which is professionally competent, and which is friendly. That gives them the sense of confidence that, okay, in this society we feel very, very secure. I feel very secure. A mother feels secure when her child is going to school. She knows that he will come back home safe. Now, can the tools of technology be utilized for perception management? So many, the Prime Minister in one of his speeches last time had said, कि अगर हर एक थाने में एक भी अच्छा काम एक महीने में भी हो, where you have helped the poor or the destitute, where you have helped the people in floods or in disasters or in other these things, or crime-ridden or in communal-ridden areas and others. And if all the police stations load it on these things and see that through the social media and others, it can lead to the message can go to the people. And then you can use not only your technologies, but you can use your contacts, your this base, by which it gets popularized, but it must remain totally credible. It should not be propagandist. It should be based on truth, so that over the years, the credibility of it is established. People know that, well, it is when they have said that, it has always been proved to be correct. You can have photographs, you can have some small videos, you can have some of these things. Look at it, that is over a period of 10 years. If so many police stations load so much of a material, and then it is publicized so much, how much of a reach it will have to the common man, and the mindsets. These are the mindsets which are, there are many reasons for that. I don't want to go, that is not this thing for today. It is not something that, basically, we have been a society which has been enslaved for a very long time. An enslaved society always has a contempt for the people who are in authority. And police is an instrument of the government which has to enforce the law on the ground at the cutting edge level. Otherwise, it's only a scrap of paper. A law book or a law statute is only a couple of pages of a scrap of paper. It is, the teeth to it come only when the police intervenes and takes it. Since you have to do that unpleasant work, and since it's the mindset that the man who enforces the law is the ruler, and we are the ruled, or we are the slaves and they are the masters, that gives them this thing of that, a certain amount of an aversion. In a democracy where they feel themselves politically empowered, which they rightly should feel, they probably grasp that. So it takes a form of resistance. And that resistance leads to the police vehicles being lit on fire, put on fire, or this thing. They do not know that they have paid for it. They don't belong to the police. They belong to them. The day the society starts realizing that the property of the police or the police vehicles that you are burning today is actually your own money, your own vehicle that you have this thing, it is not getting deducted from the salaries of the policemen. It is only the taxes which are going to this thing, they are going to be enhanced, because the government will have to find these new vehicles for equipping them. Now, once they start feeling, how do we bring about the societal change where they feel that it is the police which is for them, it is the police for which they are paying, it is the police which is there to serve them and serve their best interests. If that realization will take time. And it has already started changing, thanks to people like Ms. Sangeeta Reddy and others, that they are trying to bring about that transformation. But the point is this, can technology enhance that process? Can it make it faster? And if it can, please try for that. Use the technology, use the applications, create your new applications, think of new innovative methods. And you also know that is in changing the human mind. Maybe that you may even like to contact some social psychologists who are also the scientists by their own right. You may also like to examine the psychology of the people in which you are posted. Different tribes, different groups, different castes, different people in different economic stages and others. How do they think? What are their limitations, requirements, expectations? And how is that you can bring about at the stage? Who are the people in the society who feel most neglected, who feel most unprivileged, who feel that there is a lack of safety and security for them? Who are the ones who feel that, well, their complaint can never reach police? It is only there to serve the privileged people. How can you disabuse them of these impressions and these thoughts? So the technology can be a very important tool in bringing about that. I don't have to go into various new areas of crimes, the cyber crimes which are coming up. You know, we used to talk about the normal surveillance systems and others. Now, how do we protect our people when we have got the satellites which are probably doing the surveillance all around the world, and the SWATs and these things are so accurate that they can probably find out from the space what all is happening here. We are having new threats from the drones. That is, earlier we were thinking that probably the weapons are being brought by some couriers from across the border. Now the drones are being sent from there with this thing of the arms, ammunition, and the explosives. Somebody flies it from the one side of from some other country, and they are getting into our country, and the people are collecting those equipment and then passing it on to the terrorists and the anti-social elements. So they will keep on multiplying, and they will have this thing, and will find the solutions. I do not want to go into that, but I want to tell you one thing. And actually, the DG, Mr. Manoj Yadav, told me that I should mention about it, and actually I think it's a very important aspect. Technology induction does not mean how much you are 150 IPS officers here, and many of your other friends and colleagues outside, how technology savvy have you become. That is important, but not adequate. The real transformation of this thing is there when the last man becomes technical savvy. I said this point, but I want to reiterate it. Their skills, their knowledge is most important. Your ability to enhance their technical capabilities and induct technology in their lives, in their working and their functioning, will really give a quantum jump, an orbital shift into the level of policing. And this fact, as police leaders, you must understand. I want to relate to you a small story. Why Shivaji Maharaj was a great leader. He understood that the skills of the people are so important. He was once going in his horse. When he found that there was one man who was carrying some sort of a blade in his hand, it's known as danpatta in those areas. He will fly it, and then a bird will come down, its neck severed. He was really astonished to see this man. So he brought him. His name was Jiva Malla. He trained him, got him superior type of these things, and this Jiva Malla continued and put him in his bodyguards. Now when in Pratapgarh, after the battle and others, he went for Afzal Khan's, this thing, Afzal Khan said that let us have a peace, we will talk it out, you also come unguarded, I will also come unguarded. So what was agreed is that 10 people will come up to the arrow distance, that's about 100 meters above. And then only one man will go up to 10 meters. So Shivaji took this man who in last 7-8 years had perfected that art to that level. That he was the thing. So this Jiva Malla was put about 10 or 15 yards, this thing on the site where they were going to meet. And from the Afzal Khan side, it was Banda Sayyid, who was a great swordsman, about 6 feet 4 inches, a person who had come from Uzbekistan and others, and who had been this thing, who was a great swordsman. And he was his bodyguard. After they embraced each other, and Shivaji, when he tried to hit him with his sword, and Shivaji, this thing like that, Afzal Khan was about to die down, Banda Sayyid came with his sword to strike at Shivaji. This man, Jiva Malla, took his sling and cut his arm from here into pieces. The sword fell down. And then his mutilated body of Afzal Khan was taken by his people, and Shivaji Maharaj came back. Now, this is that leadership. Empowering, enabling the last man. Making each one of your constables, head constables and others as a Jiva Malla in his own right. Somebody can be very good in technology, somebody can be very good in the computer, somebody can be very good in communication, somebody could be very good in this thing. Train them. Give them the new tools of technology. Take it up to the police station level. Take it up to the last man. Integration of technology is more important than the knowledge of technology. Knowledge of technology is only good for seminars and showing your scholarly this thing and others. We have got to move beyond that. So my friends, my very young, this thing, it's a great time for me. It's a wonderful experience to be here with you. I wish you all the luck. The future of this country lies in your hands. You have got to provide a secure India. We cannot build a great India unless it is a secure India, both internally and externally. And this responsibility will be on your very, very competent shoulders. Equip yourself, self-actualize, add to your skills and knowledge. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you very much to Mr. Manoj Yadav and our DG, BPR&D, and to Chairman Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an outstanding speech, and which was very, very inspirational.
Subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Click the bell button and enjoy the latest uploads from our channel.